Three, two, one. Welcome everybody and welcome to Tonight in STEM. I'm your host, Juan Vasquez. This is the show where I interview professionals in the field of, well, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So how's everyone been doing today? It's been now 2 weeks since I've published a interview, since I'm now moving to publishing every 2 weeks instead of every week due to my schedule and just time management in general. But thank you for joining us for our next episode. This is actually, I think, number 11. So I've interviewed 11 people. But today I have somebody different. In the past, I've interviewed a lot of professionals in the field of maybe scientists or engineering. Now I'm going to cover the technology aspect. So I'd like to bring in Juan Vasquez. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, Juan. Tocayo, good to see you again.
Yeah. Juan. So let's see how we kind of do this today, right? How was your day?
Everything's going well, man. You know, I got home a little while ago, had a chance to relax and think about the great things we'd be talking about today, and now just having a good time here, talking about technology and why we need more of us in there.
Oh, awesome. So I like to start our shows by asking the classic question: how did you get started in STEM? I guess specifically in your case, technology.
Sure. I was actually thinking about just that today, and it's been a really kind of non-linear, very fun adventure. My career started in advertising, so that's when I first really came in contact with it as a professional, but it was working on the peripheral with engineers and music guys and, you know, just different pieces within the advertising agency ecosystem, but not being anybody really driving the wheel. And slowly, as my career has kind of taken different twists and turns, I'm finding that although I'm jumping across different industries, the common thread is technology. So my own relationship with it kind of grows as my different chapters grow because I get to see it from different parts. Long answer, but it's not any one answer really.
No, it makes sense because everything in the world is changing. Technology is the leading thing that changed, and it's changing the fastest. So how do you kind of keep up to date with that? A mentor taught me a long time ago to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. And I find that to stay up to date on what's most relevant for social media or for UX or for data, I go find people that know their stuff really well. They might be members of my network that I just hang out with regularly, or it might be people that I follow on Twitter and actively kind of explore their own content. So I just find people that know it better and try to learn from them. That's key, I guess. So let's step back a little bit, and I want to talk about your education. So I know you graduated from in the state of Florida. What university was it?
The University of Florida.
Okay, that's easy. University of Florida. What was your major?
Advertising.
Okay, so why did you initially choose advertising, and do you think you would be in the position now based on why you chose advertising?
Yeah, I originally went into advertising because I was at first a business major, and it really lacked the human interaction that I was craving, the creative outlets that I know I wanted to be part of my career. So after talking to a few kind of mentors again about what I was thinking and hoping for, they recommended advertising as an avenue to explore, and it totally aligned with me and that meshing of entrepreneurship and communications and persuasion and creativity. So that's why I chose it. And, you know, I think that I could have chosen a variety of other majors and I would still be working with technology, because what I did in undergrad really just helped me, I think, learn how to think, but never tie me down to any one discipline. So I hope that that's the case for many more kind of millennials and young professionals, where our undergrad and what we chose to do as students just provide a platform, but don't really force us into any one area. So, you know, it started out of a craving for creativity, but it was really just the starting point for my own adventures with technology.
So did you have an advertising gig right out of college, or how did you go about finding your kind of first job?
Oh, that's actually a great story. So, Madcap is how I got my first job. So, Madcap was this organization that I started with a few other rebels within journalism and communication. I was very unhappy with the options that I had as a student, and much more a senior about to graduate, when it came to the diversity in student organizations that my college offered. So I wanted to be an advertising professional, yet when I tried to dig for tours of ad agencies or possible internships with ad agencies, most of the resources that the student organizations were facilitating meant that we needed to go to like Atlanta or Chicago or New York to explore and learn about the advertising ecosystem. And as great as those opportunities are, I was not in a position where I could just randomly afford a trip to Atlanta, to New York, or Chicago. I had to work, I had bills to take care of, and I know that there are a bunch of other people in a similar boat. So I just started up a little kind of petri dish student organization where we toured 2 or 3 ad agencies in the state of Florida, and I just gathered like 8 other students that also were juniors or seniors or maybe a few underclassmen who wanted to be advertising professionals, could not do the trips to New York and Chicago, and who were down to just explore. And so we would have this roundtable discussions on advertising trends, and we would kind of do miniature projects. And the first ad agency that we toured was Benedict Advertising in Daytona Beach. Had a great tour, led one of our discussions like we would do in a meeting, but with the agency staff. And about a month or 3 weeks after graduation, I stayed in touch with them, and about after like three or so weeks, they reached out saying, "Hey, we have a coordinator position, so really bottom of the totem pole, like just one step above an intern." And they're like, "You want to come interview?" So it was perfect, because I knew that had it not been for me going out of my way and making something happen because I know it was the right thing, you know, that led to my very first job. So networking, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
That's awesome. And you put yourself out there. You saw an opportunity and you created it for yourself, which is key. Which I think is very key for individuals who kind of who can't really find their niche. They have to create it, and that's what you kind of did. So how long were you at Benedict, and what kind of projects did you work there?
Sure, I was at Benedict Advertising for roughly a year and 11 months, so almost hitting the 2-year mark, and it ranged on anything from just doing the bare bottom supporting of creating the agendas, doing basic research for business to business clients. There was this, it's pretty crazy, Thompson Pump. They do huge like manufacturing pumps for industrial and commercial and enterprise level construction projects all over the world. So very early on, I got to work closely with a lot of engineers and craft the communication strategies around how these huge pumps move millions of gallons of water from one part of the country to the other, for example. But did also some more creative stuff, working with a paddleboarding brand. It's called Three Brothers Board. They're small, out of Florida, and they do paddleboards. So I got to help build their brand from their website through the first branding of the boards, and then did some translating work for Subway. So, you know, just try to be as like versatility, you know, just I knew that you need me to do something, let me try it out. Like I'll rather fail at trying than not try. So
yeah, that's how you'll learn. You'll learn if it works by trying. If not, you'll never know, basically.
Exactly.
So I know. So you're in Florida, and then at what point did you make the transition over to the other side of the states, to LA? Why LA? So
I was then like at around 2.5 years into my career. I was working at a bigger ad agency, doing more digital campaigns like Pandora and Hulu, and more social media heavy. Mm-hmm. But the content matter that I was working with was just so disconnected from where my passions were, and I was just unhappy. Like, it was a great gig, and I really do love advertising, but I was very unhappy with how I was just spending like 75% of my week. So I was about to quit and just go stock shelves at the local grocery store because I needed to realign. And right around that time, I was exploring a sponsorship opportunity between a client at the ad agency
Okay.
and a nonprofit with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation.
Okay. I know about them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a landmark organization, leaders on Fast Track. It made sense given the account or client that I was working with. And the person leading the charge for that particular initiative decided to run for mayor of LA. And it was basically, I got in touch with one of their recruiters who's a great friend to this day. He is actually one of my roommates, a digital strategist by the name of Lupe Chavez. I recommend you find him on Twitter. But it was basically like, do you want to come to Los Angeles and organize in the second largest city in the country, knock on doors, talk to voters, and learn, but more importantly, use it as a platform to see what I can make happen. Like, how high can I go off this trampoline that was a grassroots mayoral campaign? So it was just that, an opportunity that, politics was never something I imagined for myself.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect challenge, so went for it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because nowadays with social media being huge, Instagram, Facebook, all these platforms, and actually recollecting back, I think they were saying that Obama won because he had a great social media strategy back in 2000. That was key. So can you elaborate maybe with some of the tactics that are used or campaigns that are used to kind of how do you promote somebody to run for office and get voters to actually vote for that person?
So, it's largely some of the same concepts that we'd explore if we just frame it as we're going to have a big party, like a huge party in the physical world, and we want all the right people to come. It's about conversation, it's about framing, and just really being inviting and understanding that sometimes you need to kind of let folks into your circle and into your ecosystem at their pace. So I did a lot of live sharing, whether it was live tweeting debates or setting up video streams with the candidates so that people could ask them questions, and really thinking about, okay, if I want to recruit volunteers, right, which for a grassroots campaign, especially looking at the 2016 election, volunteers are going to be the blood life of a lot of campaigns.
Okay.
But anyway, thinking about what do I need to do to turn a Twitter interaction into a real life volunteer, and breaking it up into steps, and just having that conversation with the team or myself. But some more kind of tangible, functional tips that I would recommend is take a look at a tool called Tweet Archivist.
Okay.
It helps you do searches for anybody that is mentioning a hashtag. So you can, hashtag tonight in STEM, and let's find everybody that has used that hashtag.
Correct.
Social Bro is another great tool for doing outreach directly on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook groups, I would suggest, as an avenue to really explore. Facebook, they're easier to build community within groups. So those were, some of the just basic tools that were around me that I really leverage, that folks can take advantage of.
How do you find those key volunteers? I know you're talking about it, but for me, it's like there's so much noise out there. How do you filter out the people that actually want to listen, that want to take action? Because it's hard to motivate a crowd. It's I guess it's very similar to making a video go viral. Like, it's how do you find that magic sauce? It's hard. It's hard.
I don't think there's a magic sauce. I think there's just a moment where the right things weirdly align. So if that sauce changes time to time, like, that's the thing, it can never be duplicated, right? So we hit a tipping point or critical mass in some of our content when the timing was just on point. One example, I recently wrote a LinkedIn article, a LinkedIn post, which I recommend all young professionals, especially in our fields, do just as a way of branding. And it was about being a Latino in a startup. And it's not that it went viral, but it got me more engagement than any other piece of content that I had ever written. And I think it was the timing, because people care about the Latino story within the startup world, and it also aligned with Donald Trump's comments on the Latino community and the immigrant community. So it's about finding that moment where larger conversations that touch people that are much bigger than our immediate communities, when those are happening, and that little perfect window where we can put in our piece and drive engagement around it. It's a very kind of meta, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So let's say if I wanted to push Tonight in STEM a little bit out there, a little bit more. So it's about me promoting it with key communities, piggybacking on specific news articles in STEM, I guess you could say.
That's a huge component of it for sure. It's telling your story. You're doing a great job of sharing all of our stories as well as the people that come on here, and identifying where those key communities are and figuring out how you become part of it. Really, it's like I know. It's not like somebody can come here and knock on my door and be like, I want to be friends with everybody that is in here. That would be awkward.
Yeah.
That's not how people behave. But you find that one person that you have something in common with, you engage them in dialogue, and as trust builds, they bring you into the fold because you bring value to the table. So, there's no make like easy button for social media. That doesn't exist. It's trust and conversations.
So I want to now kind of move into something called NationBuilder. I haven't heard about it, so I'm hoping you can talk about it. It seems like a huge platform that I'm not sure how I'm not aware of it, but can you introduce us into that? Oh, I think we are having technical difficulties. Let's see.
Yeah.
Skype a few more seconds to catch up. We're having a little lag. All right, I think we have you back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Do you hear me okay?
Yep. So I'll repeat the question. NationBuilder, what is it? It seems like I've heard about it before, but it seems like a huge platform that you've been a part of. So what's your contribution? What is NationBuilder?
NationBuilder is a software platform for leaders. If you're a leader trying to organize within the political space, within government, within the nonprofit space, NationBuilder is definitely a tool you should explore. It wraps together a content management system to get your website up and going using a variety of very templates, all geared around getting people to take action. So it's not about, at least NationBuilder websites are not about making pretty brochures. They're about getting people. My website runs on it. They're about building community. It's what they're built for. So a content management system for websites, a CRM to keep track of relationships, who are those biggest supporters, who are the people that show you love, an email marketing engine to some extent where you can do email outreach and email marketing very targeted, and then a fundraising engine. So when you talk about grassroots organizing and building movements and getting people to come together under a collective vision, NationBuilder should be part of one of the tools that is definitely explored. And I handle a lot of their social media, kind of building ambassadors programs, and a lot of the business development and kind of user acquisition for the Spanish-speaking world.
Huh. So I know you mentioned CRM. So for the people that don't know what CRM is, can you explain that?
Yeah, CRM is customer relationship management. Usually system is attached at the end of it. And it just helps you know, for example, who has volunteered in your last 5 events, who RSVP'd for that fundraiser you did 2 months ago, but who didn't attend, or who has endorsed you as a political candidate. So it keeps track of interactions, it keeps track of engagement and fundraising, for example. It just helps you keep track of relationships.
Huh, that's I've actually, okay, I should kind of be using this. It seems like a great way to kind of cook up a community and get them engaged and keep track, which I guess is key. How do you keep track of your community, how engaged they are? All the resources, all the tools in one place. Yeah,
completely. And it's like any part of our relationship, it requires some manual effort, and some stuff's automated, but some stuff is just up to each of us to take care of and handle. So it's not, I put some time into it for sure. I use it for all of my little speaking engagements. Yeah.
So can you elaborate how you got involved with NationBuilder? What's the story behind that?
Yeah. NationBuilder was the platform that was used for the political campaign that I moved to LA for, and pretty early into the campaign, I became the digital director. So I was managing.
So, Juan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So we're having technical issues. So I think what we should do is let me call you back, and
Okay.
we'll reset the connection. Usually that helps with Skype. So that's a tip for everybody out there. Skype usually is flaky. Actually, Skype is great for low bandwidth connections. I've used it in the past, but sometimes it can get a little flaky. So I'm just gonna call him back, get him online here. See, is Juan Vasquez with us?
Here.
He's back.
Back.
Awesome. So we were talking about NationBuilder. And do you want to pick up where you left off?
Yeah. NationBuilder. So where do we leave off, as far as me working for them, or how we came into the picture, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
Those two.
a combination of things. When I moved to LA for the political campaign, about a month into me being here, I became their digital director because they really needed help just leveraging social media in a way that they were not doing it. So they were using NationBuilder. It just so happened. And so I just got access to it and started trying to break it and play with it. Then when I worked for a nonprofit, we held a hackathon and they sent some volunteers. So I was like, cool. They're a cool company. They're down to support the community. And then when I was looking for my next kind of step, I saw a tweet from one of their VPs, and it said something like, "We're hiring and we have a bar on our roof." So
Oh wait, a bar on the what?
yeah. So it turns out the building where their office is in downtown Los Angeles, and at the time it had a bar on their roof. So we're hiring and we have a bar on our roof. So to me it was like, you're speaking my language. And more importantly, it was a showing of culture, of the type of culture, if you can have a VP, so clearly using that type of dialogue and framing and persona to recruit, and it's just them being them. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't,
correct.
That's just what he felt like tweeting, and it's cool because it's the type of place that it is. You can very much be yourself. So I was like, that's it. I saw this, I got to apply. And I applied, and skip ahead, like 3 months later, I was training, and I was there for almost 2 years. Wonderful time.
Wow. Okay, that's just that speaks to their culture, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Huh. So I wonder if that tweet was a little maybe it had a hidden meaning or something to it. Because for me, it's like, okay, if you know LA and you know they have a bar on the roof and they're hiring, it's like, okay, I'm going there right now. I don't know, that's me. Kind of like, okay, let's go see it. They're calling me over.
Completely.
So you were there
it's like great.
Nope. You were there about 2 years. Now I guess I want to talk about what you're doing now, which is actually pretty exciting.
Yes.
Working for the mayor, correct? City of LA. So can you elaborate how you got that? How you get involved in working with, let's say, the mayor of LA? Come on.
So I'm working as a comms and data analyst with the mayor's operation innovation team. And the reason I think really that this happened is because of Twitter, largely. So like a year and a half ago, I was volunteering, running the social media for an event. And something that I do during all of the events that I volunteer as a social media manager, coordinator, whatever for, is I go back after the event and I see who engaged with the organization, and with the right kind of influencers or whatever, I follow up with.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the now director for this team was at the event, and we connected because of the event. So I followed up with him. He was working with the city, doing amazing stuff around livability, and so we developed a friendship, and we knew we were part of the same ecosystem. We kept on just talking and keeping each other in tune with what was happening. And right as he was pivoting to join the mayor's operation innovation team, I was looking for the next step in my career, and the position that he was looking to fill was a hybrid of data and communications and technology. And I'm a hybrid. Like, I'm not gonna fit into any one peg, but I can do cool things across a few. And interviewed. I did what I needed to do to show him that I was also the right candidate, and I went through the hiring process. But I think that in a weird way, because of that Twitter interaction, I had been not knowing it, and the director not knowing, I had been almost interviewing for this gig for like a year. So that's how it happened.
Again, it goes back to taking that first step and networking, right? Everything
Exactly.
is networking, keeping that network fresh, not letting it go stale. If you let it go stale, it's like it never existed.
Exactly.
So
And just to piggyback off that, bringing value. Just I try to go into my my networking approach is how can I help you and who can I connect you with. As far as what I need, we'll get to that later. But like just having that idea of being there to serve the people we're working with, that's been super helpful.
that's awesome. So so what are your responsibilities for this gig that you're currently at? What are you gonna be doing?
Yeah.
How are you gonna? What campaigns are you gonna be throwing, or what's? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we have three core initiatives that we're working on that focus on really just improving and optimizing in how the city delivers certain types of services. And my role is largely around the best way I've been able to put it is synthesizing and translating data into the right type of conversation. So there's imagine how much we each generate a tremendous amount of data, right? So imagine how much data the second largest city in the country generates. So it's working with new tools like ArcGIS. I've never used it before. Socrata, that's a new tool. So it's diving into those and really being like, of these mountains and mountains of data, what matters to accomplish our goals, and also how do we frame conversations in a way that get the right stakeholders involved with our efforts. It's about coalition building. So my team is about 5 people. We have project managers that are focusing these initiatives, and I work across all 3 initiatives, doing a lot of the data, the synthesizing, the framing, so that communications component. So it's a little blurry because again, it's a hybrid role for a team that is a new model for how government provides kind of innovation to itself.
Yeah, and I find that fascinating because now using technology, transparency is more of a word that's being used more and more. It's how can the government be transparent? How can you gain that trust? Yes, at the federal level right now with the NSA, where there's a little bit, but at the local level, maybe the city of LA, how can you provide that transparency with this data? And that sounds awesome. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
There's one. I think the first step that we're starting. The first step is government transparency, open data. Let's bust it open. It's there. But there's a next level that every city needs to. Oh, do you hear me? I think.
Yeah, we're breaking up a little bit, but
I'll chill for a minute.
Skype's not behaving today.
Okay, I think we're good.
Oh.
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. We're good.
Cool. So the first step, which I think most cities are getting closer and closer on just being fully on board, is open data and transparency. But what happens is that the city opens up these just immense amounts of data. Just so much data gets opened up. The cities need to ask themselves, how do we present this data in a way that solves problems and that encourages people to use it? And then we need to figure out what people want to do with the data, right? So I think I'm proud to say that I think I'm part of the city and crew that is helping figure out user experience for open data, connecting it to really just like the community. Not stopping at engineers or the private sector, but how do we bring this experience down to the trenches, and that's exciting.
That is very exciting. So for me as a developer, as a software engineer, I think okay, I have a database with an API that I can access information and then present that in applications and in providing maybe an app for road conditions or the potholes are a classic example. But that's what I think. And you're going a bit further and going to the community. So how do you tell that story to the community? Like, how do they want to hear it? How do you present that data, this big data?
Coalitions is at the heart of it largely. What I find is that almost like everybody's doing something. You know, all kinds of organizations are trying to solve issues in our cities, in our day to day. So figuring out within this huge puzzle that exists, where are the gaps? And of those gaps, which can we fill using the innovation that we as a city are providing? So it's a lot of just trying to figure out who's trying to do great things in the city, and then where you see a gap, it's like, what solution can we provide that ties to our deliverables, our goals, that solves what they're also trying to do. So we're doing a lot of just thinking about how different groups of people use data to do their jobs, to accomplish their goals, to make stuff happen. And being like, how can we go from being an entity that might limit that to being an entity that enhances that, right? Like, can the city help you accomplish whatever it is you're trying to do? Can we help? Can we facilitate data in a way that helps you?
Yeah, and that leads to economic growth, more jobs, and that's key for that, and that's what a government should be doing, and that's awesome. That's I'm actually excited for that. So I want to attach one last thing, is actually how Juan and I met. It was a national conference, and I know he presented a workshop that I couldn't attend somehow. I got pulled into another meeting, but I know you do this as a little side job. Can you elaborate on that and for how long you've been doing that?
Yeah. So in my free time, I like to just work with organizations that I believe in. You know, I like to go and do trainings on social media or digital organizing or leveraging the digital space with the physical space. Sometimes, you know, it's pro bono. Now that I'm employed, it's just something I like to do in my free time. And it ranges from doing things like training all of SHIP's professional leaders to maybe just working with a 5-person team, like a small staff, on how they can leverage social media, to working directly with members on how do they generate better content. So it's really just whatever the scope of social media need, you know, whatever that is, that's what we try to do. And I just try to have a blast. You know, I bring myself to the table. I like to put my personality into the trainings. And at SHIP, we ended up building a really cool origami Twitter bird, and everybody captured their ideas in there. So I break the rules when it comes to presentations sometimes, but it's because we're going to do it in a really fun and engaging way.
Yeah, we're in new times. You don't have to stick to PowerPoint and reading off text. It's engage and talk about it. So I'm actually looking through what I was actually presenting right now. And I regret missing this because it seems like I would have gotten a lot out of this. Yeah, to grow my local Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers local chapter, but also maybe use this for Tonight in STEM. I know one thing you did talk about was evergreen content. What is evergreen content?
Evergreen content is content that will not expire or stop being relevant in a short time frame. It's things that you can talk about in the fall or in spring or in June or Labor Day. It's the way that you present content, or I guess it's content that is just always relevant or that always helps you tell your story.
So can you give an example?
Yeah, I actually gave one in the workshop. It tells the story of one of the students that went through a summer entrepreneurship academy. So it's an alumni of the program, and it has his picture, and it has a little paragraph quoting his own views towards the organization.
Okay.
And it's just a success story. You know, it's an image that can be shared across a multitude of channels, and that it's always relevant because it will always be a beautiful story.
So do you, when you're writing these social media posts, are you aiming for your content to be evergreen?
Not always. It
Okay.
depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If I'm trying to get people to show up to my fundraiser next Tuesday, I need to create urgency and I need to focus on making things that will get people there on Tuesday, not drive engagement for the next 2 years.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That's awesome. Okay. Anything else before we kind of wrap up and go into our segment of life hacks? Anything else, Juan?
I just want to encourage everybody that is listening to us tonight to not be scared of technology as a career option. I am not an engineer. I did not go to school for computer sci. And there's all kinds of levels in which you can play in the technology world. We need more Latinos and Latinas. We need more women. We need more underrepresented minorities creating the future, because that's what we're doing. So just wanna ask all of you to keep that in mind.
Yep, I echo that 1,000 times, and that's exactly what I'm doing this too. It's to highlight those stories, and Juan, you're one of them. So thank you for your time. Let's see. So we're gonna jump into our life hack segment of the show. I know Juan has something he wants to share with us. I have a suspicion it's in the social media. Is it?
It is. It is. That hack is get LinkedIn recommendations. So it's super simple. To get LinkedIn recommendations, you got to have your LinkedIn profile and keep it updated. But get those LinkedIn recommendations because you can email those when future employers ask you for recommendations. You can just send them there while you get official recommendations. And you can also export your LinkedIn profile. So you can export it and have a base for your resume, and those recommendations will come with it. So get LinkedIn recommendations, keep your LinkedIn tight, and then export that out and use it as you need to.
So I have a question for you. How do you get recommendations?
It's baked right into LinkedIn's little kind of functionality. I don't know the clicks exactly, but if you go to LinkedIn to your profile, you have to be.
Well, I know you have to be logged in, but let me rephrase my question. How do you go about getting recommendations? I know the technology-wise, there's the websites, the steps, but do you ask for them? How do you get recommendations?
Usually what I'll do is I'll limit it to people that I've actually worked with and that I feel like they have a good judgment of the work that I do. And then I will either, if I know that they're going to give it to me, I'll request it on LinkedIn and then I'll follow up with them and be like, hey, I sent a recommendation request, fill it out and I'll do the same for you. Like I'll return the favor. If I'm unsure if they'll do it, or if I don't think they check LinkedIn frequently enough, I'll tell them before I send the request, and then I'll send the request, and then I'll let them know I sent the request.
Okay. Yeah, you have to make sure, and that's actually the point I wanted to bring up, because they don't come in without you doing something or bringing it up. You have to kind of go out of your way to do it. So when I actually was interning at Sonos, I got good reviews on my end of the year report, and I went up to my manager, hey, I've been doing well. Can you actually just write a recommendation on my LinkedIn? And he did, and that's been up there. And I've actually haven't followed up and gotten more recommendations. I should, because they are actually show. I want to say, at least for me, when I visit through LinkedIn profiles and I see a lot of recommendations, I'm like, I think highly of that person. It steps it up. It's a little bit more for that LinkedIn.
And also, since you can build these recommendations through your career, you can get recommendations from peers, from people you supervise, from people that supervised you, from people you worked with. So it actually paints a really well-rounded picture of how awesome of a professional are you.
I like that. Awesome. My favorite word. Yeah. So, thank you, Juan, for that. I'm going to go and share my tip a little bit. I wouldn't say social media, but I know with the Apple event that's rumored this month, people always kind of ask me, hey, when should I get the next iPhone? When is it coming out? The next iPad? All those. Well, there's a site I use. I'm not an Apple person. I'm more an Android person, but I do use this as a resource. It's called Mac Rumors. The exact URL is actually buyersguide.macrumors.com, and actually they keep track of the last time that specific product has been released. For example, the iPhone, that it's rumored to come out this month. The last time it came out was in September, 354 days ago. So it says they recommend to not buy it right now because a new version might be coming out. So this is actually a very handy tool to kind of go through, and it tells you in the past how long they've lasted to kind of release the average in days. So for example, let's say a Mac. If you're interested in buying a Mac and want to get kind of the latest and greatest, they recommend not to buy a MacBook Pro and an iMac. So it's assuming that in the near future, Apple may release. And again, they don't have specifics. They don't have specific timelines. This is just a average based on past days. So again, the website is buyersguide.macrumors.com. So hopefully that comes in handy there. So with that said, Juan Vasquez, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your excitement, and being part of the positive statistic of being another Latino in the tech sector.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you for having me, and I hope we get to meet up pretty soon.
Oh, we will. I think you're going to the Loft event. Are you going to the computer science Loft event? I don't know if you know about that.
The Coder Summit in UCLA?
Yes.
Oh, you know I'm going to be there.
Oh, okay. I'll be there. So we'll see each other there. All right. Awesome. So with that said, thank you everybody for watching another episode of Tonight in STEM. Please share this with everybody, your friends on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're not on Snapchat, but we are on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Please share, and we'll catch everybody in 2 weeks. All right, awesome.